projects, or general concerns about town business. Town board members will not respond directly to public questions or comment. Questions and comments should be respectful. If you wish an answer, you can reach out directly to my office and we'll provide one. And personal attacks are not permitted. Okay, anyone wishing to make a public comment?
I'm John Joseph. I own the Hurley Market. I have a question. The town passed a resolution to reduce the speed limit on Guilford-Wittenberg Road back in May. There's one question. Was that request granted?
The town did not request the speed limit be dropped from the county. We asked for a speed study. And that's the second time that we've asked for a speed study. And to my knowledge, it has not happened.
Okay. So, as I asked before, would the town be able to just go ahead and reduce the speed limit if they chose?
No, it's a county road.
Okay. And the state would also have to be involved as part of transportation also?
Not to my knowledge on a county road, but I don't know the ins and outs of the law, sir. And this is, I think, the second time that you've asked me the same question in a public meeting. So I'm
just asking this happening.
No, I know. I feel I've answered this before, but.
Well, no, I'm currently asking what's happening.
As far as I know, nothing.
But again, just to be clear, the town does not have jurisdiction over state roads or county roads.
Not speed limits.
What jurisdiction do they have?
This is public comment, right?
You have a public comment
So
there?
I think I did just say that we won't respond to comments or questions in public. You're welcome to submit it in writing, and I'm happy to respond in writing. Anyone else wishing to make a comment?
I have a comment to make. I'm really happy that it's raining.
Yes, we're all happy it's raining.
The sad thing is, it's gonna run flush right off. It's not gonna really.
And I also want to acknowledge the firefighters dealing with the fire in the town.
Yes. I understand we've had a couple of brush fires in Langford.
There's been, to my knowledge, 2, but the one down in Ellenville is over 100.
Yeah, so it's supposed to be hard.
And they're fighting 12 hours a day. Hope this works.
This is at Cragsmore?
Yeah, Cragsmore, Center, Ellenville, Mackinac, here in San
We just sent 4 cases of water down
From Australia, yeah. So let's hope
there. Right?
this rain hit them too and help and
No more lightning
lightning
strikes.
strikes down there, because that's what we're seeing. But we've had 2.
Ours was,
Our second one, I believe, was about 4 or 5 acres.
it was usually down power line. It might have been down.
So,
All right, there are no other members of the public here, so is there a motion to close the public comment? Motion to close the public comment. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so from this point on, the board will not engage with the public. First item on the list is review and approve minutes. Everyone received their minutes from the town clerk? Is there a motion to approve the minutes? I have a motion to
Yeah,
approve.
I motion to approve the minutes. I'm sorry.
Is there a second?
No.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town clerk's report. Yeah, we can get our paperwork in time from the accountant, so we'll do that next month. Same thing for the supervisor's report. We get it from the accountant.
Right.
So, all right, so on to the first resolution. No.
This is a new one today.
That's fine. There you go.
Okay, everyone should have everything on this list.
Yep.
Gregory, can I impose on you to read the truck lease?
Sure. Truck lease.
Yes. Resolution for truck leases. Whereas the town of Hurley Highway Department maintains 54 miles of town roads for the safe travel of residents and the public, and whereas the highway superintendent has identified the need to replace two 18-year-old 2005 International 4x2 dump trucks with all-in-one stainless steel bodies, 11 feet reversible plow and wing plow, and whereas Tracy Road Equipment has provided the attached quote per Onondaga County bid contract number 8996, and whereas Daimler Truck Financial Services has offered a 5-year lease term in which the town owns the trucks at the end of lease, and whereas the 5 annual payments, including interest rate of 5.48%, will be $115,389.58 to allow the town to budget annually for this acquisition instead of depleting our capital equipment fund line, which currently has a balance of approximately $500,000, and whereas it will take more than 18 months to take delivery of trucks once ordered, so time is of the essence. So thereby be it resolved to authorize the highway superintendent to place the order for two 2024 Western Star 47 by 4 by 2 trucks with snow fighting equipment not to exceed $260 per truck for total not to exceed $520,000 with lease payment of $115,389.58 to be paid from Capital Fund 3H for a 5-year lease agreement with Daimler Truck Finance Services.
I have something I'd like to read
Yeah.
before we go any further. Just listen to the second one.
This one does not pertain to this one, it's the next one.
No, it's the snowplow.
No, it's the form. It's the forms for the next one.
No, but it's also, you gotta go down.
We can do it in discussion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Discussion.
Okay,
Can I have one at least?
all right. Last meeting, this came up, and Gregory and the people, we agreed to look into this a little bit further. This actually does do with more than just the forks. You gotta go down a couple paragraphs. If you could ask for the purchase of 2 new trucks, I do not understand why we don't get more bids on any of these trucks, or even go to an auction. The pattern of having these vouchers dropped off to us right before meetings to make these decisions does not work for me, nor should it for anyone else. We, as a board, are responsible to make proper decisions on all of these vouchers. There's no way for us to do our due diligence to make proper decisions without giving proper time, especially when you're talking about the largest purchase we make. We're talking $500,000. At the last meeting, when this came up, I asked for more research into the possibility of where else plows could possibly be purchased and other bids be submitted. We have not been given that. Since you refused, Mike Schultes, to communicate with the town board as a whole and participate in our meetings, issues like this will continue to occur. Melinda is doing an amazing job to get this town and start functioning properly. I ask you to join us in this. We are not hearing anything. I emailed this out to get a response. I got no response. I asked last month for this. This is This is a big issue, and if you read the voucher, you're talking about trucks, 2024 trucks, to buy 2024 trucks. Those trucks have not even been made yet. We have a big issue. Look at this weather. We need plows. And yeah, the town is not maintained or taking care of it. There's no reason we have 16-year-old trucks. I'm glad he's finally doing what I suggested, to lease them so we could use them for a while, trade them in, or auction them off, get a bunch of the money back, so they don't cost us, because right now, basically, they're worthless for scrap, probably. No one's gonna buy them. We really need better work than this. There are auctions that we could literally go to that other towns and other places in the state do the same kind of thing. Hopefully what we're gonna start to do, if we get these new trucks, we'll run them for a while. Then we'll put them out the auction. They're still good trucks. They're still fine. And you know what? If we were to go to auction between now and December to pick up trucks at much lower rates than this, that are probably fine for us to use, we probably will be in a better position than waiting 2 years and for these 2024 trucks to even be built. What this is basically saying is we're gonna be still stuck with what we got. And there's been times last winter where we had to go out with shared services because we had so many trucks broken down. To me, I've asked for a process to be done that would be more efficient, smarter, and be better for everybody, including all of us. We all drove in that crazy weather down here. You know, I don't want to be driving in that in the winter when we don't have any plows. And I don't know if everybody's willing to wait a couple of years to get new trucks.
Okay.
So I'm asking that this gets set aside until we get the proper. I'm not saying this is a bad thing. It's just an improper way and not an efficient way to run this type of work.
Anyone else have anything to say?
Well, okay, I mean, if we were getting trucks that were from 2022, you know, are there no trucks out there? I mean, is it possible that, you know, I'm speculating here, and I really annoys me, actually, honestly, that I have to speculate over something like this. Because I want to trust that that he's already sort of explored all of these avenues, and this is the best that we can do. But it's confusing to me, because that it does mean that, like, probably 2022, 23 winter, we're not dealing with new trucks. We're still
So you're at, yeah, so basically we're asking to go ahead and okay this for something we're not gonna see.
No,
for like
I'm not saying to okay it. I'm actually
Okay.
saying, what's plan A, plan B, plan C? Like, could we go to an auction? Are there no trucks available? Like, is it possible to get other trucks? Is it possible? I just don't know.
I asked this to be addressed over more than a month ago, and, you know, I try to work with him and do the best I can. Here's the last text message I had with Mike Schultes. Mike Madsen, who's in charge of Ulster County Emergency, under situations like we're having today, but this was the night of the tornado. This was 10:30 at night. Mike Madsen just called me. If you have any serious problems on the roads and need help, call them. That's all I wrote. Because Mike called me because he couldn't get in touch with Mike. And Mike doesn't answer his phone.
Mike Schultes or Mike Madsen?
This is Mike Schultes, but Mike Madsen is, he's the county guy. He calls me because he can't get a hold of anybody else. Here's Mike's response to me. Only problem I have is your mouth. Try keeping it shut for a while.
Yeah, I don't,
Yeah, this is,
you know, I mean, if it's gonna get personal like that, I prefer you not do that,
Yeah.
to be honest.
I'm just
with you.
reading what the response were. All as I was doing was calling due to an emergency situation.
There's, the issue on the board is whether or not we're making a
Well,
decision. on
what
this.
I'm trying to say is we lack, the reason I'm reading this is because we lack communication. And this is the third board that has had the same issues with him. That he does not communicate, he does not come to meetings, and he does not answer emails or responses or questions.
But we need to, my comment is that at this juncture, we need other bids.
I think we need a lot more information because we just don't, there's a lot we don't know. I mean, Donnie, you just raised a lot of questions too.
Right, and I mean, you know, I know zilch about these kind of trucks, but, procurement is procurement, even if I can't pronounce anything today. I think, I mean, the issue of bad communication and non-cooperation, I think it's, you know, it's really complicated, and, I think, you know, I'm with Greg that really what we need to focus on is like solving the problem of having a better process to get the trucks and seeing if there's
Agreed.
something better. The only thing I would say is, this is a caveat, I know all of that's going on, but, you know, if this is starting to interfere with the functioning of the town and the safety of everybody in the town and the safety of the residents and the, you know,
And the safety of
all
the
of
people at
that,
the station.
that's another
Correct.
issue that we're gonna have to discuss. So, you know, I'd like to see at least what Mike's process is for choosing this, and I would totally invite him to explain it. And I'd like to see some, you know, some lower bids. I'd like to see some alternative ways of getting trucks if it's possible. You know, I think the auctions are always a good idea. But we're probably gonna have to cross another bridge at some point, so I'm just kind of stating that.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second on the table. Do you guys wanna follow through with this and just go ahead and vote? Or do you wanna change the motion to be a table?
Yeah, I would table this, I think,
Table it and reach out to
yeah,
Mike.
because I think the problem here
Okay,
is.
so I need a motion.
Okay, yeah, a motion that we table this resolution until we get more clarity on other options that are available to the town for purchasing of purchasing or leasing, two trucks.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition or abstentions? Alright. Okay. Would someone like to read the purchase warrants for new loader? Thank you, Yana.
Resolution to purchase forks for a new Komatsu loader. Whereas last year, the town purchased a new Komatsu WA 270 loader with bucket, but kept the old set of forks to keep costs down. And whereas it has become apparent that the old set of forks do not fit on the new machine properly, as was discussed in that purchase. And whereas the old forks have a tendency to fall off the quick connect mechanism, creating a very dangerous situation for highway workers, with numerous incidents occurring over the last few months. Jeez. And whereas the highway superintendent has ordered the crew to cease using the old set of forks to limit the town's liability exposure from possible injury occurrence. And whereas CN Wood Equipment, vendor where the town purchased the Komatsu loader, has a set of forks available immediately. Otherwise, it would be several more months before another set would be available. So therefore, be it resolved to purchase the available set of forks in emergency situation to allow the highway workers to perform their work in a safe manner.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a question about this one too. When we purchased this one last year, we asked that this one could be still used in the town, possibly up with the transfer guys. so they could pick up washers, dryers, refrigerators, and everything as a tool to pick it up and be able to dump them into the trash. Right now, they literally have to lug them in, and it's crazy. That was kind of the agreement that we had made. That old one still sits up there. There's 2 of them up there. So it hasn't gone anywhere, which means, as far as I can tell from what's written here, that those buckets do not fit the new model, but they came off of the old model, which means that probably the quick disconnects and maybe even the size of the way they attach is different. They were made for the old one, the old one's still there. If we get rid of those buckets or sell them or whatever, that's ridiculous. Because now that would mean we have another loader up there now that's useless. I have no problem with buying the proper buckets, but I do not want to get rid of those ones. I want them back for the old one. And I would like the transfer guys to get it, because there's another issue we're gonna have later on with all of this mulch and stuff. We're gonna start hopefully selling it, getting rid of it. We're gonna need that up there to be able, the highway's gonna need theirs, but there's gonna be another one needed to be able to load trucks and do other things, to be able to reap some of the money that we've spent on them.
So if, why don't you sit with that for a second, and if you would like to propose a resolution after we finish this one, you can.
Concurrent resolution that would retain the old
Yes.
order and the old forms.
Yes.
Well, we probably could just write it into this one.
I think it should be separate.
I think it should be separate too.
Well, there's a problem with this resolution. If we're gonna be purchasing anything, there's no number attached.
Well, that's true, there is no
And
number
it's an
attached, is there?
emergency situation.
So, you know, we need to know if this is a purchase, we need to know what the purchase price is.
And
And that's not in this resolution.
we also didn't include what line it's coming out of.
I also want to know how you buy one of these loaders without a bucket anyway. That's what they're called, loaders. They come with buckets. This thing should have had a bucket with it when
Even
you
the forks,
purchase
it
it.
had a bucket,
It says a bucket.
yeah.
Okay, on the other hand, they really need the forks, but how much is this emergency purchase gonna be? Are we in discussion now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I don't even know if it matters if it's an emergency, is this is sort of like, we don't actually have any say in how much it costs because we have to get it now because if we don't get it.
Sorry, guys.
If we don't do it now, it says, it would be several more months before another set is available, and it means they basically don't have any operable forks going on right now, which they really need, right?
And again, if we were to go back and read every resolution about new purchases that we get dumped on the day before the meeting, they all say it's all of a sudden an emergency and we can't get them, or we have to do it right now.
Well, I mean, I don't know about that. I'm not looking at the whole.
I've been here a little longer than you.
Yeah, I know you've been here forever, and I've only been here for 2 days, so.
I'm a little,
Is there a number for this anywhere? Is there a cost for this? Is there a line that this is coming out of? Is this coming out of an emergency fund or
Hang on a
ARPA or
second.
town or
Hang on a
highway?
second.
When you bought this one, it should have came with all this.
Well, hold
Hang
on, that's kind of beside the point that this.
I'm sorry, this was my fault. It was an extra, I think you guys might have gotten this from email, but I didn't print it.
what is
Oh.
this?
It's the quote for the forks.
Oh, that's probably right on my
It's
list, my bad.
And how much is it?
$9,250.
And is there an additional cost or, and that's it?
It doesn't say.
And does it say where it would come out of?
No. I mean, typically it would be 3H because that's the
Yeah.
highway, you know, equipment reserve.
Okay, so we're only talking about $9,000. here.
So what line are we talking about this coming out?
It's probably 3H, it doesn't say in the resolution, but that's what I'm imagining.
As long as he wants to put it in his budget.
How long has this been an issue?
My guess it's an issue now because they're gonna need to move. And they're gonna need the loader to pick up material
Okay.
Yeah.
and stuff to do, so now all of a sudden it doesn't work. That's my guess.
Alright, so no trade-ins or anything else, it doesn't look like they're getting rid of the other forks. It doesn't say anything about the other, it's just $92.50.
Melinda, could I ask a question? So on the agenda, you said that there's a statement about sale of things.
Yeah, that's kind of where
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry,
It
that
was
phrase,
purchased.
yeah, it was
It meant
purchased, it was.
purchased.
Okay, here's the other option we have. The forks fit on the old one, that still works, that's still there. When they need to use a fork, they use the old one. For now.
If they already bought the new loader, we're gonna need new forks for it anyway.
Yeah, but we got the old loader
Right,
that
but
still
they
works.
could temporarily
They could
use-
temporarily
they-
use that.
And
but
they
have to-
should actually be using the old loader. If the forks falling off the new one are danger,
Right.
then use the old loader until they get the new forks.
No,
Well, it's just old, but you know.
it's old, but
And so then there would presumably be a price that wasn't an emergency price?
well, it solves the issue. If they need a loader and they need to not put the bucket on it, but they want the forks on it,
Oh, I see.
use the one with the forks. Just run one with forks for right now and one with a bucket.
This is coming out of the highway department funds.
H
R-
fund.
Right, but right
Reserve.
now what I'm saying is this should not slow down the process of anything. As far as if we still need a loader with forks, we have one. If he wants to spend money to buy forks for the new one, out of his budget, that's fine. But what I'm saying is, this is not an incredibly emergency, in my opinion, if we already have one that could be used for it. I mean, he can do what he wants. He wants to spend his money that way. You know, that's, his prerogative. I just want it to be made on the record, everybody know that we have one that works. That can
Well,
be
if
used.
that's the case, then they can't use it at the transfer station.
Not right now.
Not right now. But they're gonna need to move things soon. They got something that can do it.
You know, if they got a new loader there, I think the forks are necessary. Simple as that.
I don't think we're debating that.
No, I think, no, if it comes out of his 3H fund, I see no problem in passing this resolution.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Why?
Wait a second, can we
I'm sorry,
understand
I'm
or
sorry,
add
before-
that the old forks?
I'm sorry, Melinda. Before we do that, there needs to be some amendments on this resolution.
No, we're going to be doing a second resolution.
Second.
Gotcha.
That's what I've been spending my time writing.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Sorry.
I know, why isn't it already done?
All right, so let's take that vote again.
Yeah.
So the motion on the table is to purchase forks.
Can we change the second whereas? Whereas it has become apparent the old forks do not fit the new machine properly, that they are now installed back on to the old loader? I just wanna make sure they don't disappear.
Can somebody help me with the wording here?
Well, I tell you something, that's something that the highway has to decide themselves. You know, putting out, no, if we let them know that, we don't want the old fork to be auctioned and utilize somewhere else, that's up to them.
No, it's not
It's not
right,
up to
because
us.
they have a loader that sits there, they got two of
So
them.
they can't use the forks on the new loader. All we're asking is for him to reinstall the old
Sure.
forks on the old loader.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
it? Okay.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable with that?
I am.
That change? Okay.
Just real quick, if
Yes.
you're going to install, put in a requirement like that, it shouldn't go in whereas, it should be resolved that.
That.
Yeah,
That's
so, yeah, whereas is recite, conditions and reasons why we're doing something, if you want to do something, let's resolve it.
Yeah, it's an action.
Right.
Ugh.
Like, make me work on the fly, guys.
Motion to adopt the amendment.
Okay, can we go back to that?
Sure.
Okay. Let's go back to this.
Yes.
Let's move on the rest of the agenda and we'll do this. Yes, please. Okay. Recycling policy in municipal buildings. Mike, you wanna take this?
Recycling policy in municipal buildings, whereas the town of Hurley already recycles at town hall, and whereas the Climate Smart Task Force has requested a specific policy in order to demonstrate Hurley as a climate smart community, whereas the town of Hurley recognizes that disposal of solid waste in landfills is costly to town taxpayers and increases greenhouse gas emissions, and whereas recycling provides a mechanism to significantly reduce solid waste disposal amounts, and whereas placing recycling bins in convenient, well-marked locations increases the rate of recycling. Now therefore be resolved, the town board of the town of Hurley require that all municipal buildings, wherever there is a trash bin, there must also be a recycling bin with a signage designated which bin is for which.
Okay, that's the motion. Is there a second?
I second that.
Any discussion?
Is it one recycling bin?
For every trash can.
And is it everything? Cans?
It's one stream.
One stream?
Single stream.
Single stream, yeah.
Is that what's required, a single stream? 'Cause we do single stream at the,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for the time being, although rumor has it they might be phasing that out, but,
If they're local, they could go up to the transfer
oh,
station.
no, it's just in municipal buildings.
Yeah,
This is just to make sure that we start
Yeah.
recycling.
it's just whether or not it's single stream is sufficient.
I think single stream is just gonna cause more work for our employees, because they gotta separate it once it gets up there.
Recycling bins, plural?
The bins will be cheaper. The bins will be cheaper in the overall thing, to get ones for
I-
bottles, metal, and cardboard.
So I think that in individual offices, we're looking at a small container for recycling. And I think, you know, in the kitchen, where there's room for more bins, is where it gets sorted.
Okay.
Okay. It's really good to have.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I can't believe we don't have it all.
Carried. Well, there are bins around, but they're not everywhere. Okay. Are we ready?
Let's dive in and check for his name.
Okay.
Would you like me to read it?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Makes it easy. All right.
We've got a suggested amendment for the, on the forks. We're adding a second, be it resolved at the end, that reads as follows: be it further resolved that the highway department shall retain the old set of forks and reinstall them on the old loaders.
The old loader.
Right.
Old loader,
Right.
singular?
Yep, same.
Yep.
So the highway department shall retain the old set of forks and reinstall them on the old loader. That's it.
Do we have to
And
say
then-
anything about making that accessible to the transfer station?
I would
I
say-
just wrote a second resolution.
Okay.
I would say after they get their, once they get these for the new one.
I just wrote the resolution.
Okay, go.
So, so Yanni, you offered this resolution.
Yes.
Are you okay with offering it as amended?
Yeah.
Okay. Mike, you had seconded this, are you comfortable with it?
Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion? Yes, thank you, Dave. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? So carried. Okay. Teamwork. Or as my mentor said this morning, teamwork makes the dream work. I'll do
Yeah, got it.
I'll do the one that I just wrote, if that's okay.
Sure.
Judy, I'll type this up tomorrow and give it to you. Resolution to retain the old Komatsu loader and forks for use at the transfer station and recycling center. Whereas the highway department purchased a new Komatsu loader, and whereas the highway department is in possession of the old loader, and whereas the transfer station and recycling center is in need of a loader with forks. Now therefore be it resolved to keep the old loader and turn it over to the transfer station and recycling center once the new forks have been received.
It wouldn't only be the forks, but the bucket would be transferred to them too, because they will need that. for
Okay, so
the other stuff.
I'll put in old loader, bucket, and forks.
Yes.
Sounds like a chicken dinner.
Okay, so that's the motion. You okay, all okay with that?
Hey, I just had a question, yes. What was the, do we know, what the intention was with the old, motor?
Probably to auction it off,
Auction off?
but
Okay.
if the town could use it,
But I'm saying, is it damaged or anything?
No, it was the
not-
tires.
Yeah, not that I'm aware of.
It's like-
I think it's just getting worn out, but it won't
If
get
it's
heavy.
if it's useful and not broken, yeah, we should be using it.
It won't get heavy use of it'll just be to move appliances and things like that. Okay.
Alright, so are the tires repaired? Do the tires need to be repaired? Does that need to be part of this?
I think they're really worn, if I remember correctly, but the bottom line is, they're not going on the road. They're
Right,
only,
it's not.
It's
yeah.
only gonna be on
It's
town
only
property.
puttering around there.
Fine. Okay,
Good, we need to keep using what we already.
all right. Is there a second?
Yeah, I second the motion.
Okay. Any discussion, further discussion?
Looking
All,
for
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions?
Thank you for writing this
So carried. It was a long day, so. That's why I needed your brain.
It's not right.
Okay, someone, read the next,
I'll read it.
thank you.
Establishing high-performance green building standards for the new construction by the town of Hurley. Whereas development and construction practices are significant contributors to the depletion of natural resources and towards climate change, and whereas the town of Hurley seeks to reduce the contribution to global climate change, reduce energy use and operating costs of government buildings, and enhance individual human health and community quality of life, and make green design consistent among all newly constructed buildings, and whereas the town of Hurley seeks to demonstrate the town's commitment to reducing its environmental impact, now therefore be resolved the town board, the town of Hurley hereby require, 1, before engaging in any new town-funded capital project, the town board shall first determine if it is necessary to build a new building or if existing facilities can be used to meet the needs of the Hurley community. 2, all new construction of public buildings by the town of Hurley shall adhere to the following design principles. A, minimize load demand by building a high-performance building enclosure including walls, roof, foundation, windows, and doors. B, use high-efficiency mechanical equipment with the ventilation and energy recovery. C, provide high-efficiency lighting. D, offset remaining load with on-site renewable energy. And E, avoid the use of fossil fuel combustion technology. 3, all new construction of public buildings by the town of Hurley shall be designed and built to a minimum rating of LEED Silver using the U.S. Green Building Code's LEED BD+C rating system, with the exception of special circumstances determined by the town board detailed in item 6 below. 4, all requests for proposals and bids for new construction or major remodeling projects by the town of Hurley will detail the requirement for LEED certification. 5, official certification by an approved third party can be accepted by the town board, provided official certification by LEED is deemed by the town board to be cost prohibitive, and provided LEED guidelines have been met. 6, in the event that certain new building types or major remodels may not be appropriate for LEED certification for reasons other than financial, the relevant town department involved in the project will provide a report to the town board detailing the reason why such LEED certification is not appropriate. The town board shall make the final determination whether the project may move forward. 7, this policy does not apply to any town of Hurley buildings retroactively. It applies to any and all work that requires a building permit that is undertaken by the town of Hurley in relation to the government buildings. 8, town businesses within Hurley are encouraged to work cooperatively with one another to achieve the goals outlined in this policy.
Excellent, thank you for reading, Mike. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, any discussion?
So I think the only consideration that we need to put into this as a policy, I think this is a solid policy. The concern that I have is that to meet LEED Silver requirements can sometimes be extremely expensive. And some way, somehow, we have to balance that expense with the resources that we have.
That's true, although building to LEED standards does drastically reduce the usage of heating fuel and operating costs, so, you know, that payback actually might be a lot quicker than.
Not only that though, LEED certification, you know, especially like from bronze to silver, it gives us more grants, opportunity for more grants.
That's true.
You know, so I think I hear your concern, Greg, but I think the fact that what Linda said that LEED certification means that these buildings are more energy efficient. So we are saving money in that respect, plus these grants coming through.
Yeah,
Plus it's the right thing to do.
We spend a lot on heating fuel
Right.
and cooling costs, you know.
So since I was a LEED associate, I know what it takes to do this. So I'm just very mindful of that as we kind of move forward. I understand that there's also on the back end the advantage. Maybe it would make sense if we're doing the building or we're putting out an RFP to comply with this. They also do that kind of cost assessment
Yes.
going forward, so we can see the savings that we're going to make when we make these investments. The LEED certification process, as you know, Melinda, requires that all materials that go into the building are LEED certified.
Right.
So it means that the procurement policy will also have to be, as we're doing now,
Right.
amended in order to comply with this.
Well, I mean, I think there is some flexibility reflected in this policy too, you know, so,
Well, it says where possible.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm just making the point that, you know, it's not, there's a lot to consider when you move towards LEED certification, and I
Sure.
think, you know, the public needs to be aware and understand
Yep.
that it's a balancing act here to get the things done right,
agreed.
right?
I would assume that for new construction like this, we would also be looking for grants to begin with.
Yeah.
So, the package of procurement plus available funding and grants, I think, it's a sort of two-sided process. Do we have language? Do we need to have language about what's funny?
No, I'm just saying, I couldn't see you.
Leaning
You
over.
was leaning over, I didn't even.
Oh. Do we have to have language about also looking for grants at the same time? I mean, that's a given, but, you know, if we're establishing a legacy here, do we also have to have something about, obviously, this is supposed to be correlated to available funding and available grants and taking advantage of incentives? Or do we just?
I mean,
You know what
If
it
you'd
is?
add that to this
Yeah,
particular motion.
I think,
Okay.
I mean, you know, understanding that funding is always a thing, right, that you have
Yeah.
to consider, so, but we're really talking about policy
Yeah, I like
and
it.
how to, you know, how to build at this point, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a motion and a second on the table. You guys want to take a vote? Or
Yeah.
want to discuss this further?
I'm prepared to vote on this.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions or opposed? Okay, so
Peter, are
carried.
you voting in support of this?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so carried. Thank you all. Let's see.
This is the same as before, we just did.
Yeah, there's a duplication here that I approved by mistake,
Oh,
sorry.
so we can just pass it on.
Yeah. Okay. So, for those who have been on the board for a little while, the topic of the old library is kind of has come up a few times before, right? So the status of the old library is that the town now owns it. It's been vacant for some time. There are still some things belonging to the library in there. The shelves are largely empty. The town of Woodstock will take the shelving for the new library, because they're not needed in either library in town. And we're paying to keep the building, even at a minimal temperature, it's kind of costly. So, it's a historic building, it's on the National Register, so we don't want to leave it just kind of sitting. So I think it's time to get some work done. Okay. Resolution to approve the RFP for energy efficiency upgrades at the old library to create office space and a visitor center. Whereas the town of Hurley now owns the old library on Main Street in Hurley, New York, and whereas the town board takes the responsibility of owning an historic building very seriously, and whereas the building currently has no water service because the pipes regularly freeze in the winter, and whereas the town board wishes to create additional office space in a building that is less drafty, uses less heating fuel, and does not have frozen pipes in the middle of the winter, and whereas the old library has been vacant for quite some time and the town board recognizes that it is fiscally irresponsible to maintain and heat a vacant building, now therefore be it hereby resolved that the town board hereby approves the draft request for proposals, which is attached, and directs the supervisor to publish and distribute the RFP, which will be due for submission to the supervisor at 1 p.m. on September 20th, 2022, and then to report back to the town board on the response to the RFP at the September 27th, 2022 meeting. That's the motion. Is there a second?
Second motion.
Okay. Discussion.
Talking about moving the historical,
The historian.
Historian,
Yeah,
is that right?
the historian will move upstairs.
upstairs.
Yeah.
Is there enough time?
I would really like for that part, the top one, to be done first so we can get it in there. It's the second floor right there. It's pretty small.
Yeah, the building's only 22 by 30, so it's not a huge space.
Our first priority, I think, is to get him in there. We told him we would, and he's jammed in the back here.
Yeah.
And now that we're running out of room in here real fast, and he's more than willing to work up over there because it's literally hit his house with a rock.
You had a question? Or something?
Is there enough time as far as the RFPs will be given until September 27th?
I mean, typically the RFP is only out there for a few weeks.
Yeah.
If we don't get a big response, we can always extend it,
Okay.
you know?
It's pretty specific.
In terms of the work
Yeah.
that's gonna be done?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are specific things that this will do. It'll insulate the second floor, make it a lot more comfortable. It'll upgrade the crawl space, so the pipes don't freeze anymore, and upgrade the heating. So
Yeah, no, it makes total sense.
It's in being a historical building. That up there has already been basically all redone already.
Right.
So won't really change it. We're just gonna repair it and make it usable. I don't think we're really messing with anything that's gonna be of a historical issue.
yeah, I mean, there's acoustic tiles upstairs and things like that, so it's not anything that's
Downstairs, it's more expensive than
Yeah.
upstairs.
Well, and the thing is, we've been down this road before, right? We've issued RFPs before.
Yeah.
They've come back and it hasn't worked for us, and so, you know, right.
I know
We'll see.
I know it's legal, legally we have to do the RFPs, but I've also seen other towns and stuff now with the computers and social media and all of these things, because the
Oh, yeah.
RFP goes into the legal section of the agreement.
Well, no, this will get posted on social media,
Okay,
okay?
so more people can see it, so
Yeah.
we get better options of maybe better prices.
So there's a motion and a second. Are you ready to?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions or oppositions? item is based on a request by the assessor to reappoint a Board of Assessment Review member for another term. Whereas the Board of Assessment Review term of Michael DiBattista will expire on September 30th, 2022, whereas Mr. DiBattista has requested to serve another 5-year term on the Board of Assessment Review effective 10/1/2022. Therefore, be it resolved, Mr. Michael DiBattista serve as a Board of Assessment Review member for a 5-year term effective 9/30/2020 until 9/30/2027. So that's the motion. Is there a second?
Is there an option to maybe open this up to new people that might want to be involved in town stuff?
So
They've already been on, he's already been on for a super long period of time. It's a one-day thing.
Well, this is a request by the assessor, so I,
Okay.
she has a really good working relationship with him.
Okay.
So, motion and a second on the table. All in favor? Any opposed or abstentions? So carried. Okay. Update the building department fee schedule. It turns out that we should have been doing this annually. It hasn't been done for a long time.
How long?
I couldn't figure out when the last time was. The fees were very outdated, and so we did a kind of a survey of surrounding towns, and this is what we come up with. Whereas the Town of Hurley Building Department fee schedule has not been updated in many years, and whereas the town has surveyed the building department fees charged by other towns within Ulster County and proposes the following fee schedule for the remainder of 2022. Minimum fee for a building permit, $50. Review of plans prior to permit application or for the purpose of revising approved plans, $100 an hour. Permit renewal if permit is expired, 50% of original fee, minimum charge of $50. No charge for renewal if requested at least 5 days prior to expiration date. Fines for working without a permit. Residential first is $250 plus the cost of permit. Residential second, $500 plus permit cost. Third for residential is $1,000 plus the permit cost. Commercial, the first is $500 plus permit cost. Commercial second, $1,000 plus permit cost. Inspections not normally included with an active building permit. For example, property search violations, old expired permit is $100. Inspections requested outside normal business hours, $70 per hour, a 3-hour minimum. Re-inspection fee for a failed inspection, $50 residential, $100 commercial. Repairs, alterations, renovations, or installations, $50 for the first $1,000 of the total project cost, plus $10 for each additional $1,000 or any part thereof exceeding $499. New construction, $50 plus 50 cents per square foot. Demolition, residential interior, $100. Residential structure, $250. Commercial, $500. Blasting, $100 per parcel per day. Fire safety inspections, $50 for the first 1,000 square feet, plus 5 cents for each additional square foot. Gas stations, $50 plus $10 per pump. Fire sprinkler installation, $150. Fireworks permit, $200 allowed by a licensed professional only. Floodplain permit, $200. Fuel tank removal and replacement, residential, $75 per tank. Municipal title search, $150. Operating permit, $100 except short-term rental category, which is $250 annually. Pools, in-ground, $300. Above ground, $200. Hot tub, $100. Roofing, residential, $50 for the first $1,000 of the total project cost, plus $5 for each additional $1,000 or any part thereof exceeding $499. Commercial, $50 for the first $1,000 of the total project cost, plus $10 for each additional $1,000 or any part thereof exceeding $499. Sign permit, $50. Solar permit, $50 for the first $1,000 of the total project cost, plus $10 for each additional $1,000 or any part thereof exceeding $499. Zoning verification letter assessment, $75. Now therefore be it resolved to adopt the proposed building department fee schedule for the remainder of 2022.
And a second.
You actually know the fees are right now? Are there fees?
You can go online and see the fee schedule.
They're really low.
They're very low.
So this will make revenue improve. better.
This is in line with other towns?
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, there's only one additional point that I'd make to this, and that is, to Mike's point, that maybe in the resolution, you need to just make that clear. That, I mean, you
In
said
the
it at the
in the
front.
first
In the first
You
line,
said
it
it at
says,
the first, right?
I say it in the first line of the resolution. The fee schedule has not been updated in many years. I just couldn't do an archaeological dig today and figure out exactly how many years.
No, that's not what I'm asking.
Oh, it says the town has surveyed building department fees charged in other towns.
Yeah.
So we're right on line.
Yeah, so I think the point I'm making here is that all of these numbers that are there are relative to the numbers that are here now.
For aligned with other towns?
No, these are changes to bring it up to speed. So if somebody goes back and asks a question, really, what are the old numbers? That's all I'm saying, that maybe it might be a good idea to have a reference in the
We
resolution.
can attach the old fee schedule.
Or
to
something,
it.
yeah, just to make it clear that these are the old these are the old numbers and these are the new numbers which are in line with what is
Okay.
already being,
All right, so we'll attach the old schedule to the resolution.
yeah.
I have a question that probably the building people probably know better than me. You know, we got the fines for people doing work if they don't have permits. But like the residential goes to 3 and the commercial goes to 2. What happens if there's a third or a fourth? What do we do then? Are they just, do they get red flagged and they just can't do anything?
Maybe they don't typically have a form.
Okay. I know we can red flag property.
Wouldn't it be, if it came, we went beyond this with third, fourth violation, it goes in front of a judge? You could bring it in front of a judge.
So,
I honestly, I know the building departments have the opportunity to red flag jobs. So you give them a couple chances, and if they then don't do it, then it just ceases
The
and
permit stops, right?
Yeah.
You don't get the permit.
yes, and then also if you're fined, we can do a law where it attaches the unpaid fines to the tax bill, right? So,
That's important.
yeah.
Good.
So just, I mean, it's just a reference, see attachment or something like this.
Okay, so you're amending the resolution.
Just to,
Just to include,
attach it.
yeah, I think it's important to recognize that because,
No,
does that make sense, Dave?
It's just two.
He's right in out.
He's writing.
I don't know, I honestly don't know about that. I mean, the context is gonna be this, like, it's gonna be like, wait, it used to be $25 and now it's 300.
Yeah.
The issue here, as you said, right at the front, is that
Yeah.
these fees are they're actually being brought in line with what exists now.
Yeah, the old fees in Hurley were really antiquated and
Right.
also kind of.
Well, we should make it put down when those fees were applied.
I don't know if you need to do all that research, I think you just need to amend.
I was gonna go back, like,
No, what the fees are right now and what the fees are going to is important to understand.
The old fees, the new fees, so we'll attach
Yeah.
the schedule of the old fees
Yeah.
and that's it.
Yes, please.
Right now, the first whereas says, whereas the town of Hurley Building Department fee schedule has not been updated in many years. My suggestion, okay, we'll accept it, is whereas the current town of Hurley Building Department fee schedule, comma, a copy of which is attached, comma, has not been updated in many years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so that's the amended resolution. I'm fine with that. Peter, are you okay with it? You seconded this?
Yep.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. So this next one we talked about at the workshop meeting.
Oh.
IT switches. all right, our current IT switches are on the list of Homeland Security's risk
Yep.
hardware, so. Purchase IT switches due to the old switches being listed by the Department of Homeland Security as posing a security risk. Whereas the IT switches were purchased in 2021, and whereas the switches are now listed by the Department of Homeland Security as posing a security risk, and whereas MCS Tech, the IT provider contracted by the town of Hurley, proposed installing Meraki switches which are the industry standard. Now therefore be it resolved to purchase 2 switches at a cost of $15,441.
I second it.
I just have a question to ask you.
Total?
These
or-
switches were bought in
Each?
2021. It's a year old.
They weren't on the list yet, and
I know that.
they were the least expensive switches on the market,
Is it 15,441 for both of them?
for both.
Okay.
And this is coming out of ARPA money, which you'll see in another resolution, okay?
Not only that, if we get hijacked.
No, I know.
Okay.
These better.
Well, the insurance company's happier too. All right, so there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Do we get any kind of insurance, like any kind of break for having these Marathis?
Yes,
Okay.
we have cybersecurity insurance, and this is one of the
Right.
things that is in there, and it does, yeah.
Okay.
May I suggest then that be included in the motion, in this resolution? If, I mean, I'm thinking that, so every time we do a resolution, there needs to be some kind of justification for why it's there. And some of these justifications are fine, but some of these justifications, particularly around insurance, has a cost associated with it. There's a greater risk. What is the reason
Cost
why
benefit.
why are we doing this?
Well, except for the fact that
It's listed on the Department of Homeland Security, you know.
Yeah, but it's also a cost to us from insurance, from the insurance perspective, that's
we
what I mean.
could, well, if we add this to the resolution though, okay, so we're saving some money on insurance now, that might not be the case later. So if we attach the rationale as we wanna save money on insurance
I mean, we get a
as
break
well.
for cybersecurity,
Yeah.
and we didn't have cybersecurity insurance before this year.
Could we put a line in that
So-
says, you know, whereas,
The town has purchased cybersecurity insurance.
and, you know, to leverage the, like the value of cybersecurity insurance or to conform to the, you know, the requirements of cybersecurity insurance. I don't know that we wanna put that in though, cause that stuff is gonna change. It's gonna change.
It is gonna change. If we passed a resolution earlier this year
Yeah, we-
buying the insurance,
Yeah.
I mean, you know. We,
Yeah, I kinda
basically,
think this is kind of
I mean,
self-explanatory.
the impetus for this was really the security risk, like
Of
Dan, you know,
course,
our
absolutely.
IT company was like, you have to do this.
Absolutely, yeah.
So,
I get it.
if you wanna
Well, let me ask.
rephrase the resolution,
No,
you know.
I'm not, I don't know if we need to, well, I just need to, let me ask you a question. Okay. All of these resolutions are built on other resolutions. This resolution in particular is built on another resolution. It's
Cybersecurity.
about cybersecurity.
No, that was for
Not really.
cybersecurity insurance.
Well, it was, I mean, the
Did you-
company, we hired a company.
Yes.
Right?
You mean
And
MCS Tech?
right, and then they said to us that there was a problem, and the insurance company also mentioned there was a problem. Am I mixing up things here?
No, I mean, you know, we need to have things that are not a security risk, right? So,
If this is not something that makes sense, then I'm
I mean, it
fine.
might make sense, but I would struggle with the language
Okay,
right
all
now.
right, well, let's leave it then. I think it's somehow, in my mind, it's, the rationales need to be kind of reinforced. We're talking about safety issues in here. It's
No,
a-
I totally agree.
Right?
I
And
totally agree.
every time we make these actions and take these steps, it's to protect the health and safety of people who are in our community.
Right, I mean, you know, not having those switches
Right.
means that we could get hacked.
Right.
Right?
It's a
And-
risk.
And there's a greater risk of ransomware, right?
Right.
I mean, that's happening to municipalities all over the place.
Slipping over a dollar to pick up a dime.
Right, so that's the risk, and I mean, I probably could have spelled all this out, you know,
It might be implied in this, you know.
Not saying no,
So,
not saying no.
do you wanna propose a language change?
I cannot think about it right now. But I don't wanna delay the vote,
Okay.
but, you know, that's why I'm actually looking at Dave, I'm deferring to Dave for language here for the resolution.
How about I fix the third whereas, right? Proposed installing Meraki switches, which are the industry standard, to reduce
the risk of.
the risk of cyber attack,
Ransomware and
Do-
hacking.
including ransomware and hacking.
Yeah, I guess that will do it.
Or you could say, reduce such risks as cyber attacks, ransomware, and hacking.
All right, you all need to be here when I'm writing resolutions, just so you know.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Okay, amended resolution. Whereas MCS Tech, the IT provider contracted by the town of Hurley, proposed installing Meraki switches, which are the industry standard, to reduce such risks as ransomware and hacking.
Right.
Ransomware,
Yeah.
cyber attacks, and hacking.
Cyber attacks, ransomware and hacking.
That's pretty robust.
Okay. Now therefore be it resolved to purchase 2 switches at a cost of $15,441. All right, I'm still comfortable with that. Peter, are you still comfortable with that?
I'm as smooth as silk.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Resolution to allocate American Rescue Plan Act funds. Whereas the United States Office of the Treasury allocated $308,771 as a second tranche to the town of Hurley, and funds were deposited on Wednesday, July 20th, 2022 into the general fund. And whereas the town of Hurley Town Board wishes to allocate funds for approved purchases under the American Rescue Plan Act into the current budget. And whereas the town of Hurley Town Board approved expenditures in 2021 that were paid in 2022. And whereas the American Rescue Plan Act received in 2021 were $308,717.03 was recognized as revenue. And whereas the unexpended balance of the funds in the amount of $215,246.59 were closed out into the unassigned fund balance at year end. And whereas the town supervisor was advised by the contracted accountants that those funds should have instead been represented in a liability account A688. Now therefore be it resolved that the town of Hurley Town Board requests the contracted accountants to move the 2021 unexpended balance of the monies received to account A688.
I second that.
Just a question on the second whereas.
Yep,
You said funds for approved purchases. What is this, purchases?
approved purposes.
Okay, you said purchase, oh,
Sorry, it's late.
that's okay.
Black dolphins.
Yeah. All right, so there's a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? So carried. Okay, so the next is a budget amendment to account for those funds. Be it resolved to increase the budget for revenues and expenditures funded by unexpended ARPA monies as follows. Increase revenue budget line A4089 federal aid by $90,211.63. Increase appropriation budget lines A3410.4 by $12,000. A3211.4 by $12,000. A7410.4 by $18,000. A7411.4, $18,000. A1620.4 by $23,318.63. Actually, that might be an error. I'm sorry, the accountants and I were back and forth in the meetings today.
That particular one.
Yeah. I put it in, she took it out. So I just wanna make sure that this is correct here. Sorry, folks.
It's all right.
Commission.
You put a check on it.
I'm not doing that to you.
Just get it all totals.
I'm totaling it up. Because there was a, change, yeah, okay. All right, I'm sorry, we're gonna make a change here. Increase revenue, up to the top here, increase revenue budget line A4089 federal aid. Instead of the 921163, that should read 105 652 63. Everything else is the same until you get down to buildings, A 1620.4. Instead of 23,318.63, that should actually read $38,759.63 because the switches were not included in that 23,000. $38,759.63.
So that's plus the Moranis.
That's those two switches. Okay? Line AA 20.4, $1,498. Line A 3620.4, $3,156. Line A 1355.4, $1,240. And A 8010.4, $999. That brings us to the total of 105 652 63.
Do we have to change anything on the page before?
No, it just wasn't included because she and I bounced back and forth, so
Got it.
that one figure wasn't included. Okay.
Right, so then now be it further resolved.
Be it further resolved to transfer the amount of unexpended ARPA monies to be used from the liability account A688 to A4089 for $105,652.63. That's the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right. Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Resolution to fund the rental of the highway garage to protect the health and safety of highway department employees. Whereas in July 2022, the town board, with the support of the highway superintendent and the union representing the highway department employees, UPSEU, secured a temporary garage location to protect the health and safety of the employees from the unsafe work environment that exists at the highway garage owned by the town of Hurley. And whereas the expense of paying for a rented facility was unanticipated, therefore be it resolved to increase budget appropriation line A5132.4 by $40,276.86 to cover the rent of the facility to FAI LLC for the remainder year and decrease A 1990.4 contingency appropriation budget line.
I second that.
Any discussion?
You know, I gave out these, this handout from, Superintendent gave me what's necessary for a move.
What's that? What do you?
I
what's
can't
that?
hear you.
This is, I passed this out, you know, I had this one, it's the Hurley Highway Complex Basement Road, equipment's needed, and all the up, change, I just pass that to everybody, beginning.
Yeah.
I think I might have missed it because I couldn't.
No, it's this.
Can,
What's the
We're gonna
point?
need to go over a lot of that.
What?
Does this have to do with the resolution or?
No. Well, it involves, more money for the movement of the move of the garage.
There's a lot of stuff on there that doesn't need to be done, and a lot of things that really need to be spoken about. I had a meeting with the landlord, we went over it, and some of it's
yeah, I've had
not- doesn't need to
conversations.
be done.
I've had conversations with the landlord. What the landlord is prepared to do is make some adjustments to the interior. The rest of this is equipment and things that should already be owned by the department and can be moved.
The only problem is if you're gonna move, for example, the compressor, if you're gonna move the generator from the old garage to the new garage, they still needed the generator there in case of the power failure for the fuel pumps. They still need the compressor there for whatever is necessary there. And that's where the trucks are gonna be stored.
Well, do you want- you wanna run
Hold on a
through
second,
this?
Hold on a second.
No.
All right, so basically, anything that's being bought right now is going to be moved over to the new garage anyway. This
So
is-
I'm just, I'm a little confused. So this issue that you're talking about actually should be brought in new business because this is not a part of this budget amendment.
That's right.
And so I prefer if we address that on a new business
Thank you,
before we
Gregory.
deal with that because there's a whole bunch of stuff that's in this that needs to be addressed. We can't do this under this budget. Okay?
Totally separate.
Thank you. Okay. So is there any discussion about this resolution?
This is clean.
Okay. All in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? So carried. Thank you, Gregory. We've been at this all day and appreciate the assistance. Okay, yeah, so it, came to my attention that there is a Ringway Grant that, has a deadline of, there's two deadlines. One is this coming Friday, which we may not make, but the second one is November 4th. So, it would be a grant for $10,000, it's matching. It would be to help us finish up the comprehensive plan, draft. We're very close to having a draft, and then we can start robust public engagement. So there will be workshops and all of that. All of that should happen in September, October. So this will just help us out with the budget for that.
Terrific.
Okay.
Second.
Whereas the town of Hurley is applying to the Hudson River Valley Greenway for a grant under the Hudson River Valley Greenway Planning Grant Program for the town of Hurley Comprehensive Plan. The town of Hurley is already a greenway community. Now therefore be it resolved that the governing board of the town of Hurley hereby does approve and endorse an application for a grant under the Hudson River Valley Greenway Planning Grant Program to complete the draft comprehensive plan and assist with the public engagement process taking place in the fall of 2022 in this community.
Now we can do it.
Second.
All right, any discussion?
Good.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried.
Just as an aside, I think it needs, is it clear on the town website that we are a greenway community?
Probably not,
Yeah.
so we can get that up there, yeah, thank you. Okay, we have 3 draft local laws. There's 2 listed on the agenda, and a third came in after the agenda was already printed, so, I'll get that up on the website tomorrow. So the first thing is, escrow authority law. Resolution to set public hearing on a local law authorizing the town to charge consulting fees and require escrows. Whereas regulating proposed uses and development of land and construction of improvements is among the most important functions of town government. And whereas expert evaluation of technical and legal issues is essential to accurate and fair land use determinations in the public interest. Whereas the town has authority to require